Good afternoon, everyone. It's Monday, April 3rd, 2017, 3:35. My day's finished. I got some business of my own to conduct. I have stuff for sales, and I need my money. So that's where I'm going right now. As for my day, went very well. Very happy with my result. And the workload today wasn't so bad. I'm not that exhausted. I'm just exhausted of standing on my feet because you don't get to sit down over there. So yesterday I made a video, but I didn't post it because at one point I laid out something I shouldn't say about my job, and I don't want to risk that if somebody from my work watch these videos. So I'm making it today, a newer version. And the topic of yesterday was the time control panel. This is one of my biggest issues that I have so far, and I figure out everything else, but pretty much except that. I only have like 20% of that figured out. And the time travel circuit, basically, it needs to control everything that's in the machine, but I also need to do something else. It needs to calculate space and time, and space and time is relatively hard to calculate on conjuncture with where you are, where and when you are. Because if I would just go with space and time, I could use the same calculation as a GPS and the relativity of the gravity of the Earth. But in space and time, you need the longitude, the latitude, the north, south, whatever, the X, Y, and Z axis plus the time. But on the GPS, you have the same axis, the same principle, and the time, but it's the time to relative to now, not time relative to how many years ago. And calculating times and fact of years and ages is such an immense calculation, because if you're not going to come back, if you have a vessel, you need to know where you are in space and time and not reappear into a star or a planet or a comet or anything that's on the way at that exact second where you plan to reappear. There is no projection to show you where you're going to reappear. And if it's just a portal like what I plan to do, the time control panel would only need to tell me approximately where and when I need to go, or just calculate the frequency of the vortex that I plan to use and see where it could send me. So that's pretty hard to calculate, and it's something I need to figure it out, because in the Philadelphia experiment they went blindfolded. Everyone aboard they were not made aware of what's going to happen, and they weren't protected. They didn't have a time lock device. The Tesla Shield is a time lock device, and it was supposed to protect everyone, but because Tesla was selling these pieces for $5 a piece back in the days, the US Navy, they refused. They wanted to know what was going to be the effect on the humans, and it was quite catastrophic. It was quite a catastrophe. It was awful what happened to these guys. And in the Montauk experiment, they were using a psychic. So the psychic was a time lock machine. His frequency, his brainwave frequency, was the calculation of where they wanted to go, and he would foresee that space and time, and the machine would calculate what frequency to put it there. And it was a huge calculator machine. It was a huge computer. And after they figured out this, a few trips over, and they stole technology from the future to bring back and use it for their own, and then improve on the technology that they already had, and then made it better. But if I don't want to use Radionic or myself as a guide for the machine, it's something completely different. So this is the biggest problems, like how to make it. I know what it has to do, but how to make it. So I need to elaborate on what was trial and what was made, and try to make my own, which is going to be very difficult. So this is currently my biggest obstacle and my biggest trial, and I'm trying to figure that out and let inspiration comes to me and show me the way, because it's not very simple. It's really not simple at all. So for now, that's where I am. I figured out the gravity generators I need. I figured out the laser part, and everything else that needs to be made. And there's at least 3 or 4 different versions that I can try. That I will try if any one of them along the way doesn't work. There's always a plan B. And once I make the gravity field generators, I'll be able to play with that as much as I want until I can really make a distortion, and then tune that distortion to time travel. Then it will be something. And I don't need to make that generator very big. The calculation that I made was about close to 14 inches in circumference, made out of stainless steel, because the stainless steel would let, in my view, it would let the magnetic field from permanent magnet, neodymium, it would let this go through and help the inside material spin around. And I intend to use a mechanical force to make the liquid inside spin around, not like the CERN colliders. I don't have a tremendous amount of energy, so I have to do with what I can. So that's pretty much it of what I wanted to talk about yesterday. But along the way with my vlog, I talked a little bit too much, so I'm keeping some information to myself right now. And things are looking up. Seriously, things are looking up, and I'm really anxious to hit the workload. I just have to be patient. I just have to be patient. So that's pretty much it for today. Have a good day, everyone.